What if I told you that everything you were taught about learning is wrong? You've been lied to your whole life. Your teachers told you it takes years to get good at something. Your parents said talent is something you're born with. Society made you believe that if you're not naturally gifted, you should just give up. But what if 20 hours, just 20 focused hours, is all it takes to go from complete beginner to genuinely good at almost anything? Not 10,000 hours, not years of struggle, 20 hours. Stay with me for the next 30 minutes, because what I'm about to share with you will completely change how you think about skill, success, and your own potential. And if you watch till the end, I'll give you a day-by-day plan so you can actually start using this tonight. Let's go. Let me ask you something personal. Is there a skill you've always wanted to learn? Maybe it's playing guitar. Maybe it's coding. Maybe it's speaking a new language, or starting a business, or getting fit. Something you've dreamed about, but kept pushing to someday. And why haven't you started? If you're honest, the answer is probably fear. Fear that it'll take too long. Fear that you're too old. Fear that you don't have the talent. Here's the real problem. Most people never start because they overestimate how long it takes to become competent. They confuse competence with mastery. They think they need to be world-class before they can get value from a skill. That's the lie, and it keeps millions of people stuck. This video is for the person who wants to grow fast. The person who is hungry for results, but tired of wasting years before seeing progress. Whether you're trying to build a new income stream, learn something that helps your career, or just become a more capable human being, this is for you. Because the truth is, the barrier between you and the life you want is not time. It's not talent. It's method. And today, I'm going to give you the method. Coming up, I'm going to tell you the one mistake that makes people quit in the first 3 days of learning anything. Don't skip this part. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two people. Call them Ravi and Arjun. Both of them decide they want to learn web design. Both of them are total beginners, zero experience, starting from scratch. Ravi goes to YouTube, watches tutorial after tutorial. He reads blog posts. He buys a course. He spends weeks researching the best programming language to learn first. 3 months later, he hasn't built a single website. He's still getting ready. Arjun does something different. On day 1, he sits down and says, I'm going to build my first web page by end of the week. It'll be ugly, it'll be broken, but it'll be mine. He struggles, he makes mistakes, he Googles everything. But by day 7, he has something real. 6 months later, Arjun is freelancing. Ravi is still watching tutorials. What's the difference? Arjun understood something most people don't. The biggest enemy of learning is not difficulty. It's the gap between starting and doing. Here's the core idea. When you decide to learn something new, your brain goes through a phase called the frustration wall. This is the period at the very beginning where you feel completely lost, stupid, and hopeless. Most people hit this wall and walk away. They say, I'm just not cut out for this. But here's what the research actually shows. That frustration wall, it only lasts for a few hours of real practice. Once you push through it, the learning curve gets dramatically easier. And in about 20 hours of focused, deliberate practice, roughly 45 minutes a day for a month, you go from zero to genuinely capable. Not expert level, but capable, functional, confident enough to use the skill in real life. The common mistake people make is this. They spend 80% of their time consuming information and 20% actually doing the thing. They watch, they read, they plan, but they never practice with their hands, their voice, their body. Real learning happens in the doing, not the watching. Practical action step. Pick one skill you've been wanting to learn, right now. Just one. And set a timer on your phone, 45 minutes. Don't research it. Don't plan it. Just do the most basic version of it. Write a bad paragraph. Play a wrong chord. Write broken code. Start ugly, because ugly and started beats perfect and imaginary every single time. But here's where it gets interesting, because knowing this isn't enough. There's a specific system for how to use these 20 hours, And if you get it wrong, even 100 hours won't help you. I'll show you that system next. Let me tell you a story about chess. For decades, people assumed that chess grandmasters had extraordinary memory. Scientists studied them. Surely they could remember thousands of random facts, right? So they ran an experiment. They showed grandmasters a chessboard with pieces arranged randomly, not in any real game pattern, just random, and they asked them to memorize it. The grandmasters perform it just as poorly as beginners. Why? Because their skill wasn't raw memory. It was pattern recognition within the game. They had learned the specific sub-skills that mattered for chess. Not everything, just the right things. This is the second big idea. Before you start learning anything, you must deconstruct it. Every skill you can think of is not one skill. It's a bundle of smaller sub-skills. And here's the secret. Only a small portion of those sub-skills give you 80% of the results. Think about learning a language. You don't need to know every word in the dictionary. In fact, the top 1,000 most commonly used words in any language cover about 85% of everyday conversation. Learn those 1,000 words and you can function. Spend years memorizing obscure vocabulary and you'll still struggle to order coffee. Think about playing guitar. There are thousands of chords, but most popular songs use 4 to 6 basic chord combinations. Master those and you can play the music people actually love. This is called targeted deconstruction, and it's how fast learners think differently from slow learners. Here's how to apply it. Step 1. Write down everything involved in the skill you want to learn. Everything. Step 2. Ask yourself, if I could only learn 3 parts of this skill, which 3 would give me the most real-world usefulness? Step 3. Ignore everything else, for now. This feels uncomfortable. Your brain wants to learn everything properly. But remember, your goal right now isn't mastery. It's competence. Get useful first, get brilliant later. Let me connect this to something you care about. Money. Say you want to start freelancing online. The full skill set seems enormous. Marketing, sales, client communication, contracts, taxes, portfolio building, social media, pricing strategy. But if you just focus on one strong skill, one platform to find clients, and one way to communicate your value, you can land your first paid project within 30 days. I've seen it happen over and over again. The people who succeed aren't necessarily smarter. They're just more targeted. Now here comes the part that most people completely miss, and it's honestly a little uncomfortable to hear, but it's the reason some people learn 10 times faster than others. Stay with me. I want to ask you something that might make you a little uncomfortable. When was the last time you were genuinely bad at something in front of other people? Not secretly bad, publicly bad. When was the last time you tried something new and failed where someone could see? For most adults, the answer is never or almost never, and that's the problem. There's a psychological phenomenon that locks most adults out of fast learning. It's called ego protection. As children, we fall off the bike. We mispronounce words. We color outside the lines. We don't care. We just try again. But somewhere around the teenage years, something shifts. We start performing instead of learning. We say things like, I'm just not a math person, not because it's true, but because it protects us from trying and failing. Adults have spent decades building an identity, and that identity is fragile. So instead of risking damage to it, we simply avoid anything that threatens it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your ego is the single biggest barrier to your own growth. Fast learners have a different relationship with failure. They don't see a mistake as evidence of their inability. They see it as data, information, feedback from the universe about what to adjust next. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Do they cry and say, I guess walking just isn't for me? No, they get up and try again because they have no ego to protect yet. The moment you can adopt that mindset as an adult, not the absence of pride, but the willingness to be a beginner, your entire learning speed changes. Now here's the psychological insight that separates winners from average people. Winners pre-commit. When a fast learner decides to learn something, they don't just say, I'll try. They make it public. They tell someone. They pay for a course. They schedule the time. They create a situation where quitting has a social or financial cost. Because here's the truth. Motivation is unreliable. You will not feel motivated every day. You will have days where the last thing you want to do is practice. And on those days, the only thing that keeps you going is commitment, not motivation. The people you admire, the musicians, the entrepreneurs, the athletes, they don't rely on feeling inspired. They rely on systems, routines, commitments. And there's one more thing. Fast learners get feedback early and often. They don't wait until they're ready to show their work. They put it out there, imperfect and incomplete, because feedback is the fuel that accelerates improvement. If you're learning to write, share your first bad draft. If you're learning to code, show your broken project. If you're learning to speak publicly, record yourself on video. The mirror of feedback, even when it's uncomfortable, will develop you faster than any course ever will. We're about to get to the deepest lesson, one that almost no one talks about. It's about how people misuse the concept of practice and end up working harder while getting worse. You need to hear this.
There's a popular saying you've probably heard, practice makes perfect. It's wrong. Not just a little wrong, it's dangerously wrong, because it makes people feel productive when they're actually spinning their wheels. Here's what actually happens. When most people practice, they repeat what they already know. A guitarist plays the same songs they can already play. A writer rewrites content in the same style they're comfortable with. A student rereads notes they already understand. This feels like practice. It feels safe. It feels productive. But it's not learning. It's performing. And performing what you already know does almost nothing to make you better. Real improvement comes from something called deliberate discomfort. It means you must constantly be operating at the edge of your current ability, not below it, and not so far above it that you freeze. Let me give you an analogy. Think about lifting weights. If you go to the gym every day and lift the same 10-kilogram weights in the same routine, your body will never change. Your muscles adapt to the load within weeks, and then they stop growing. To grow, you must progressively increase the challenge. You must push into discomfort deliberately and consistently. Learning works exactly the same way. Here's where most people misuse this concept. They think more hours equals more progress, so they grind. They sit at the desk for 6 hours. They feel exhausted. They feel like they're working hard. But without intentional challenge, those 6 hours produce less growth than one focused, uncomfortable hour. Quality over quantity, every time. The correct way to practice looks like this. First, identify the specific thing you cannot do yet. Not what you can do, what you can't. That's your practice target. Second, break it into the smallest possible piece. If you're learning piano and you can't play a specific transition between 2 chords, practice just that transition. Not the whole song, not the whole section, that one transition. Third, measure your progress. Record yourself. Compare today to last week. Numbers and recordings don't lie, and they show you growth that your feelings often hide. And finally, rest. Sleep is not a waste of time for learners. It's when your brain consolidates everything you practiced into long-term memory. The people who skip sleep to study more are literally working against their own brains. One deep lesson that almost every summary misses: learning is not a linear process. There will be weeks where you feel like you're getting worse, even though you're not. These are called plateaus, and they're actually a sign that your brain is reorganizing information at a deeper level. The ones who push through plateaus become the ones everyone else calls talented. Talent is just patience that most people gave up on. Now, everything I've told you is useless unless you act on it. So I've built a complete 7-day plan that tells you exactly what to do, day by day, to actually use this in your life, coming up right now. All right, let's get practical. Here's your 7-day plan to start using everything we talked about. Day 1, choose and deconstruct. Pick one skill, just one. Write it at the top of a page. Then underneath it, write every sub-skill it involves. Then circle the 3 most important ones. That's your focus for the next 20 hours. Day 2, set up your environment. Remove every distraction from your practice space. Put your phone in another room, block social media if you need to. Set a timer for 45 minutes. This is called deep work, and it's more powerful than 3 distracted hours. Day 3, do it badly on purpose. On day 3, your only goal is to attempt the skill and produce something terrible. Write a bad blog post, draw an awful sketch, play a broken song. The goal is to break the psychological barrier of beginning. Bad output is infinitely better than no output. Day 4, get feedback. Show your work to one person, a friend, a community, an online forum. Ask them, what's the one thing I should fix first? Take that feedback, don't defend yourself, just listen and adjust. Day 5, target the weakness. Take the thing you can't do yet and practice only that for 45 minutes. Use the deliberate discomfort method. Push past comfort. Be willing to feel stupid for a little while. That feeling is literally your brain forming new connections. Day 6, teach what you know. Explain what you've learned so far to someone else, or record a voice note explaining it to yourself. Teaching is one of the fastest ways to solidify learning. If you can explain it simply, you actually understand it. Day 7, reflect and recommit. Look at where you started on day 1. Look at where you are now. Notice the growth, even if it's small. Then recommit to the next week. Learning compounds. The growth you make in week 2 is faster than week 1.
and week 3 is faster than week 2. 20 hours, 6 weeks. You will be a different person on the other side. I want to leave you with something deeper than techniques and frameworks. There's a version of you that you've been afraid to become, not because you can't become that person, but because becoming them requires you to be a beginner first. And being a beginner feels vulnerable. It feels like admitting that you don't have it all figured out. But here's the truth that changed my perspective, and I hope it changes yours too. The most successful, fulfilled, capable people in the world are not people who stopped being beginners. They're people who became comfortable being beginners over and over again. They learned to love the awkward, clumsy, humbling process of starting something new. Because every time you begin something new, you're not just learning a skill. You're proving to yourself that growth is still possible, that you're not finished, that the story isn't over. There's a question I want you to sit with tonight. What is the one thing, the one skill, the one ability, the one version of yourself that you've been putting off because you were afraid it would take too long? Because maybe it won't. Maybe 20 hours from now, you'll be looking back at today as the day everything shifted. The only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is the decision to begin. So begin, today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when the kids are asleep or when work slows down or when the timing feels right. Because timing never feels right. Begin now. Begin badly. Begin scared. Just begin. If this video gave you even one idea that made you think differently, then do me one small favor right now. Hit that like button. It takes 1 second and it tells me this kind of content is worth making more of. If you want to keep growing, and I know you do because you watched this far, subscribe. I put out videos every week that are designed to make you think, grow, and take action. And finally, drop a comment below and tell me, what was your biggest takeaway from this video? What skill are you going to start learning in the next 20 hours? I read every single comment. Tell me, let's grow together. I'll see you in the next one. Keep going.